Hello everyone and welcome back guys to our F1 2020 McLaren driver career mode, where today we're here finally back with round 5 of season 2. Yeah, we're here back at the Dutch Grand Prix. I know it's been a little while since the last video from this series. Obviously, if you guys only watched this series, I hope you had a good Christmas and obviously a Happy New Year's as well. Obviously, yeah, we've just been focusing a bit on finishing off my team's season 4. Obviously, if you've missed out the last few races from that, what on earth are you doing? Go back and check those out as well, obviously, before we dive in to this weekend's Dutch Grand Prix. But yeah, as it has been a little while, a little bit of an update then in the World Championship. Of course, there will be spoilers, so if you missed out on the last one, go check that out right now. But yeah, spoilers then in 3, 2, 1 now. So, championship-wise then, very, very close at the top currently there. Myself on 63 points ahead of Bottas on 61, Hamilton on 60, and then our teammate Lando Norris on 55 points there. Very much a 5-horse race at the front of the field so far here. But in terms of the results, you can see we've had a first 2 seconds and then a very, very unfortunate 15th place at the Chinese Grand Prix after some unlucky strategy calls and Charles Leclerc deciding he doesn't know how to use a braking zone. So really, yeah, it appears that actually Mercedes have been the more consistent guys at the start of this season there, hence obviously why they lead the Constructors' Championship by just 3 points. But you can see, in terms of vehicle performance, though, at the moment, we still are just about at the front of the field there. Mercedes, Red Bull and Racing Point all very, very close with Ferrari, just a little bit further back as well. You can see pretty much everyone bar Williams has made some gains since the start of this season. But anyway, let's dive in then here. Round 5 of the season. Let's do this thing from the Dutch Grand Prix. So here we are then, ready at the Dutch Grand Prix. Then round 5 of the season, and still we wait in this series for our very first pole position here. Maybe, just maybe, today can be that day. But that's the setup that we're running then. Let's head straight out onto the circuit for our one-shot qualifying. Pace has felt pretty good in free practice. Zandvoort in this car does seem like a pretty good combination as well. So we'll wait and see as to how this one goes. Obviously, Lando has normally been the one to deny us pole positions in Season 2 of this championship, but maybe, just maybe, yeah, today can be the day that we finally get one of these laps hooked up. This should be a track that does suit the car quite well as well, in all fairness. Obviously, the aero and the chassis working overtime around the track like this as we head down in towards Sector 2. Try and don't clip that curb on the inside. Certainly made our fair share of mistakes through there in previous seasons and series on this game, but so far so good. Very, very close at the front of the field. I can just see out the corner of my eye the position count every once in a while just sort of changing around as we head down in towards Sector 3 here. Could we finally be on for our first pole position of this series there? Purple through Sector 2 to get a nice run through the hairpin. Try to get a decent run on the exit there. Is that Charles Leclerc in the rearview mirror? Is Ferrari having a world leaver session as we head out the final corner, though? But this might be it. This might be our first pole position of this series. Out the final corner, down towards the line. Bottas in P2. But we've done it at last. Only, what, 27 races? And we've finally got ourselves a pole position here. Hopefully, that's a good sign of things to come this weekend.
With qualifying finished, it's time to remind ourselves of our top 3. Mr. Monaco, Bottas and Sergio Perez. With qualifying complete, all that remains is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the Grand Prix tomorrow, so make sure you join us then.
Well, there we are then. A very, very mixed up grid for the Dutch Grand Prix. Then 4 cars from 4 different teams inside the top 4. I can't remember the last time I remember seeing that in the wonderful world of Formula 1 there. But we're on pole by just a 10th of a second over Valtteri Bottas there. Sergio Perez 3rd, ahead of Charles Leclerc, and Vettel looking very, very quick in that Ferrari car there. Homeboy Verstappen down in 6th. Hamilton 7th, Lando in 8th, and then Stroll and Albon rounding out the top 10 there. And you can see the Red Bulls and the Alpha Towers, and then obviously the bottom 3 teams as well there. But yeah, rather mixed up grid then here for the Dutch Grand Prix. Let's do this thing.
For years, the passionate Dutch fans have been easy to find trackside at races across Europe and throughout the world. Now, at long last, they have a Grand Prix to call their own. It's a warm welcome once again to all of our viewers in the Netherlands and around the globe. as we get underway for the Dutch Grand Prix. Zandvoort circuit then, 14 corners, 10 to the right and 4 to the left, with plenty of steep camber and elevation changes to keep our drivers on their toes throughout the 2.6 mile lap. And watch out for cars making use of the DRS zone into turn 1 to try and overtake. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Mr. Monaco lines up on pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have PEREZ, Leclerc, Sebastian Vettel, and Verstappen, Hamilton, Norris, Stroll, and Alexander Albon, Ricciardo, Gasly, Esteban Ocon, and Kvyat, Magnussen, Grosjean, Kimi Raikkonen, and George Russell, Giovinazzi, and Nicholas Latifi. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head to trackside for today's race.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do, don't let me down.
Here we are then, ready on the grid for the Dutch Grand Prix, round 5 of the season here in Season 2, and finally we find ourselves in the best seat of the house, especially at a track like this, where overtaking is very, very difficult to pull off as well here. It's round 5 here at the Dutch Grand Prix. It's going to be an 18-lap race ahead of us. Obviously, we're going to have to start on the soft, go up to about lap 8, lap 9, and then go mediums to the end. But hopefully, if we can get a nice, clean getaway, we're going to hold on to the lead in towards the first corner there, down into Tarzan. Yeah, a lot can go wrong, as we found out last week at the Chinese Grand Prix, but a lot can also go right. And hopefully today, we can try and re-get, kick off where we were back in Australia. We haven't won a race since the first round of the season. We've been fairly consistent, 2 second places after that. But yeah, consistency is definitely going to be key over the course of this season. Their Racing Point look quick, Mercedes are always quick. We look quick, Ferrari seem to have their moments in the sun still as well there. And obviously Red Bull, you can never discount those guys as well. But ready then, on the grid for the Dutch Grand Prix, waiting on just those 5 red lights. 5 red lights, here we go. And oh my god, no weight whatsoever there. We don't respond too well to that as we head down in towards the first corner. We have got Valtteri Bottas on our inside, obviously reigning world champion, and he does get the move done off the first corner there. You can't put any power down on that outside curb in there, so Bottas straight up into the lead then of the Dutch Grand Prix. PEREZ holds on to P3 just behind us there, as it looks like Leclerc under a lot of pressure from fast start in Hamilton as we head up in towards Sector 2 here. But yeah, Bottas, as we dive down the hill, leads the way into the tight, twisty middle sector of... I mean, all this track is tight and twisty, let's be fair. You don't really get much of a chance to breathe. But obviously, ERS management as well, going to be very, very critical around here today. You can always burn through your battery around this track because there just aren't that many big big braking places, even I should say, which in turn means there's not many overtaking places as well here. As we head down in towards Sector 3, I always forget just how short a lap it is as well around this Dutch Grand Prix circuit. But in towards the banking though, to finish off lap 1, Valtteri Bottas, the Finn, leads the way at the end of the first lap there, as we are in P2, still Sergio Perez 3rd, and Hamilton all the way up to 4th place there. A mega start for our fellow Brit. Coming towards the end of the second lap though, and it looks like Bottas is really, really trying to set a very high tempo at the start of this Grand Prix. He's going to try and get us out of the DRS zone, as now DRS will be activated. He pulls about another 10th on us on that lap, but Perez as well, sticking very, very close behind us. Racing Point certainly are a big old threat at the start of the season, or Perez has been anyway. Stroll has had no luck in the early race of the season. I think he has yet to score a point, actually, after the first 4 races there, but Perez is still right up in the mix as best of, well, not McLaren or Mercedes early on this season. You can certainly tell the difference as well between the Mercedes and the McLaren, is like where their strengths lie around this circuit. Bottas takes so many different lines to me and seems to pull away a couple of tenths in some places and then lose a couple of tenths in others. Obviously, we're just using ERS in different parts of the circuit there. We have held on to a lot of our battery, though, at the start of this Grand Prix. He's made big, big gains in towards the chicane there. Bottas always a little bit cautious through that corner, but Perez still sticking with us at the moment as we head in towards the final corners of the lap. Can we potentially get a run on the Finn now as we head onto lap 5 of this Grand Prix? We do get a bit closer But we're not quite close enough this time around. There's a new fast lap of the Grand Prix. Always could do with the bonus points. And if this season stays as close as it has been early on, they could become very, very critical. Oh, Bottas getting rather squirrely out of the final couple of corners of lap 5. This might now give us a much bigger opportunity. Trying to look past the Mercedes out of the final turn there. Through the bank and we go. Stays close to the back end of that Merc so we can finally dart out of the slipstream. And as we head back down in towards turn 1, could be late on the brakes. A bit too late though, I'll be honest. But we do hook it up. Bottas gives us the room around the outside and we are back up into the lead then of this Dutch Grand Prix. Very, very deep in towards the hairpin there, but we do get the power down on the exit. And yeah, now up into the lead of this Zandvoort race then. Things you love to see. Now the real question turns into, when do we pit in this race? Obviously, like I've already said, Zandvoort, not the easiest track to overtake at in the world, so it's always that fine balance of being undercut or getting caught out in traffic. At the moment there, as Bottas now going to have the DRS, I think we've got a little bit more straight line speed than the Merc. He makes some gains down in towards turn 1, but certainly not enough to pressure us. As we head on to lap 8, it seems that the team want us in now in this Grand Prix, but Perez really starting to apply a lot more pressure to Valtteri Bottas here. I haven't quite decided whether now is going to be the time we pit. We might try and just go a couple longer. Coming to the end of lap 8, and I feel like we're starting to just cause a little bit of a train. We made a couple of small mistakes on this lap, but obviously the big important thing is just getting the power out of this final turn. Then through the bank and we go. Ready to start lap 9. Are we going to see any of the guys behind us diving into the pits? No, we don't. So it's a good job we haven't. However, Bottas, a mega run down in towards turn 1 there. He might be able to slide himself back up into the lead of this Grand Prix. We'll get all over the curb and on the exit. Like I said, you cannot put the power down out there. And Bottas straight back up then into the lead of this Dutch Grand Prix. We held on to it for 3 laps and that was it early on in this race. And now, hopefully we can try and get back around him. Out through the final turn. Bottas is going to dive into the pits. We got to make sure we don't cross over that line as Perez is going to come in as well here. So it's going to be interesting to see if they do get held up in some traffic. Lando into the pits as well. So it was a good job we didn't opt to pit then as well here. But I think those guys should probably come out just ahead of the Haas-Williams now for a male lot. But I think Perez, he's got the jump on Bottas here. So Perez had an absolute worldie of a pit stop, and now we need to be really careful that Perez, he might get the undercut on us here. End of lap 10, these tyres definitely now starting to go off in this Grand Prix, so we are going to be into the pits at the end of this lap here, ready to go into our mediums to the end of the Grand Prix as we almost just dip the outside wheel into the gravel there. That certainly wouldn't have been ideal. We'll make sure we get the car slowed down nice and tidy into the pits. There we go. Oh, it's 50, not 37, so yeah, a little bit cautious on the way in there, but are we going to get jumped by Hamilton? 2.8 seconds stop. We just about stay ahead as actually Hamilton has been held up there, but I think as we head back out of the pit lane, are we going to come out still comfortably in the lead? Very, very cautious on pit exit. Don't make any mistakes, don't make any mistakes. But it seems like everyone who pit that lap earlier has lost a little bit of time through the pit stop window because we have now got about 1.5 seconds over Sergio Perez and Valtteri Bottas. There is Hamilton back out on hards. What on earth are Mercedes doing? They seem to have become the new Ferrari when it comes to strategies. 5 to go though, and Perez is driving like a man possessed at this stage of the Grand Prix. Still taking just a little bit of time out of us, lap after lap. The gap just hovering over that 1 second mark at the moment. And I think if he gets back into the DRS, obviously depending on when he does, Perez, yeah, looking very, very quick at the moment. Really wants to try and make this 3 different teams with victories in the first 5 races. I think we're just going to have to start using a little bit of rich revs, overtake, things like that. It's actually new fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Just keep Perez at bay just a little bit. 4 to go here from Zandvoort. And yeah, I think, hopefully, we've just got about enough in the back pocket. Oh, almost down into the 109s in this Grand Prix. We might try and go for one final one at the end of next lap there. But yeah, I was just trying to see if we get a 109 as we slowly try and romp away from the rest of the field here. Perez has looked incredibly quick, but we've just got a little bit more, sort of raw pace in the car here. And yeah, I do love just trying to push around this track. Heading on to the final lap though here from Zandvoort. It has been a very, very weird but a very, very nice race as well. There's been plenty of different cars that have looked competitive this weekend. Ultimately, it has been a 3-horse race between myself, Perez, and Bottas. There is Hamilton on a butchered strategy. Ferrari just not quite with enough race trim. Red Bull seemingly a bit nowhere as well this weekend as well. Been very, very surprised by that, as well as Lando. He's looked so good in the opening early rounds of this season, but this weekend has just really not had what it takes to battle at the front there. Obviously, qualifying was a big, big factor, but, I mean, Hamilton managed to get his way towards the front before, obviously, Mercedes butchered his pit stop strategy. But yeah, Lando has just been nowhere this weekend as we head out in towards the final DRS zone of the lap, though. For us, we lost the lead at the start. We were able to get it back just before the pit stop. Just actually through the pit stop window, weren't we? After we jumped Bottas for just a couple of laps after he made a small mistake. And then since then, it's been fairly plain sailing to the end of the Grand Prix. We had a bit of a moment as I thought Perez might be able to try and get around us. But at the final corner, it's going to be another win on the cards, our first since the Australian Grand Prix. That's what I'm talking about.
Great job. You've done everything we wanted today.
Many doubted whether they could pull off the win here in Zandvoort, but they have done, and done it in spectacular style. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
Well, they certainly stood out as a drive with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
As the winners make their way up to the podium, one can only imagine the celebrations that will take place at McLaren tonight. Congratulations to everyone on the team, securing the win and proving they're a force to be reckoned with out on the track. Let's see what effect this result has had on the drivers' standings. Mr. Monaco increases their championship lead. After an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
It's got to be Lewis Hamilton. I mean, he pulled off some impressive feats out on the track today, even by his standards.
Let's move on to the constructors. The current championship leaders still hold top spot, but that gap is getting smaller. Meanwhile, good work from Racing Point this weekend, who pushed themselves further up the order. Well, that was certainly an incredible weekend of racing. Be sure to join myself and Ant for more exciting Formula One action soon.
Well, there we are then, boys, the end of the Dutch Grand Prix. And although pole position, fastest lap and the race victory will make it look like a fairly plain sailing weekend, those of you that have watched will know it wasn't quite that simple here at Zandvoort there. Sergio Perez, a fantastic job. He's been quick all weekend there. Third place in qualifying and a very well-earned second place at the end of the Grand Prix. It wasn't like he got past Bottas and then just sort of held him up right to the end there. Yeah, Perez looked incredibly quick throughout the entirety of this weekend there. The Finn, though, finishes P3. Consistency has been key for Mercedes, and third and fourth there will certainly help them out. Charles Leclerc and Vettel seem to have a bit of a Ferrari renaissance this weekend as well, in 5th and 6th ahead of Verstappen in 7th there. A disappointing day out for the Dutchman in his home Grand Prix there. Lando as well, a very, very quiet weekend. 8th on the grid, 8th at the end of the race. Really, yeah, just didn't have the pace to match the guys in front of him there. Ahead of Stroll, who picks up, if I'm not mistaken, his first points of the year there. And then Albon rounding out the top 10 there. You can see Ricciardo, Gasly, Ocon, and Danny Kvyat there, all in the same places that they started there. Magnussen in 15th there. George Russell did get the better of Giovinazzi and Raikkonen at the end of the day. They're ahead of Latifi, and then Romain Grosjean rounding out the finishers there. Everyone actually making it to the checkered flag this weekend there. World Championship-wise, though, that means our gap, obviously, especially with Perez finishing P2 there, really helped us out. That means the gap's back up to 13 points at the top of the standings there. Hamilton still in P3 there behind his teammate. Lando Norris still in 4th there ahead of Perez and Verstappen there. With Charles Leclerc still in 7th, Vettel getting the jump on Ricciardo up into 8th place there, and Ocon still rounding out the top 10 there. Lance Stroll, yeah, like I said, does get his first points on the board there, means he jumps back up into 13th place, and then it's just a case of both just both Alfa Romeos, both Williams, and K-Mag still yet to score there. And constructors-wise, though, tied at the top now between ourselves and Mercedes. There are 148 points apiece. This battle, yeah, is going to be brilliant to watch throughout the entirety of this season there. Ferrari still in P3. Racing Point get the jump on Red Bull, who are down to 5th place at the moment there as well. Really has been a quiet start to the season for Red Bull there. And Renault all the way back down to 6th place there ahead of AlphaTauri. And then, of course, the bottom 3 teams as well there. But thank you all so much for watching this video. This week there's going to be a few more videos from the McLaren RTG as we try to get back into it as well, obviously, as next week we're going to be restarting the F1 My Team series as well there. But thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, do make sure you leave a like and get yourself subscribed. And yeah, we will be back very, very soon. With round 6 of the season, we head to the Spanish Grand Prix. You guys do not want to miss it. A big thank you to our channel members for making these videos possible. You can be featured in these end clips as well as granted access to some other exclusive perks for just £1 a month by clicking the join button below.